Welcome to another episode of Trucker Talk. Today, I'm going to talk about my accident from February the 25th of 2016. First off, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel. Me and George, we really appreciate it. I hope everybody is having a blessed day, having a wonderful day. Hope your weekend is going well. But today I'm gonna dive into this story because I never talked about it, but I had to process it for years. And I think a lot of people really didn't understand it. They didn't understand my emotions and my feelings behind it. So thank you everybody. Thank you everyone for listening and supporting the podcast. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you out a scenario of what's going on. So February the 25th, 2016, I was running a Cisco route. So at Cisco, I'm going to give y'all the whole big picture of Cisco. Cisco in Knoxville. I tell people, I explain this to people, but people, unless you work a hard job, Cisco is one of the hardest, most physical, emotional, mental, all around job. It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever worked in my life. I want to compare it to Coca-Cola, but I can't really compare it to Coca-Cola because you're delivering just like at Coke. You deliver to gas stations, CVS's, Walgreens, Kroger's. Back then we had Kmart's. You would deliver to Kmart's and in the different mom and pop stores. But with Cisco, you're delivering to the hospitals, the nursing homes, the schools, restaurants. And also, you're going, depending on who that person or who the driver was, you either had a set route or you was like me. I was more of, and this is for the record, and anybody that got something to say, they can say something. But I consider myself an elite truck driver at Cisco, and I still consider myself an elite truck driver to this day. And even after my accident, because my accident could have stopped me from climbing up in that truck and getting back behind the wheel. But I didn't let that determine who I was, or I didn't let that stop me from who the man and the truck driver that I needed to be. So I'm driving. It's early in the morning. I remember this day vividly. I had a lot of cases. I was in a pup trailer, but the only thing that sticks out to my mind to this day, the only thing that sticks out on my mind was I had mobile meals. And the reason I say that is because anybody that worked at Cisco, if you in a pup trailer and mobile meals is like stop 9 or 10, you already know all of them pallets, and I'm talking about the 610s, I think is what they call them. Because they got a buku of stuff. I'm talking, it was like 4 pallets. I'm talking like 2 pallets in a dry, maybe 1 pallet in a cooler, and maybe a couple of freezer pallets from my recollection. So I'm working out the side doors, and in my mind the whole time this day is I'm thinking, man, I cannot wait to get this stop off of my truck. So fast forward. Oh, I was on a downtown route. So I caught all my stuff downtown or whatever. And I was working my way back. I am coming down Summit Hill. You know where Crown Plaza is right there on the right. And that LMU college is right there on that corner. I think that's Henley Street. Because Henley Street runs into Broadway. So I'm going to give you the visual. I am coming down the hill, coming down Summit Hill. I'm passing Crown Plaza. And that stoplight right there on the corner where LMU College or LMU is at. There was a young lady, and I can't get this red maroon, or I can't get this PT Cruiser out of my head, but she had a maroon PT Cruiser. And as I'm coming, this is me coming in the stoplight. So I'm driving into the stoplight. The stoplight is green. So it's green on both sides. So she was coming in the opposite direction. She was making a left turn. So as I'm proceeding into the stoplight, she decides to make a quick left turn. And I'm talking, if I would have connected with her, I would have killed her on impact. So I'm driving into the stoplight. And I see this red car like in front of me. I freak out. So, of course, my natural reaction, I don't want to hit this young lady head on. So I swerve my truck to the right where the college was at. So somehow, and all of this is on video. That's one thing I'm going to say for the record. People want to complain about these cameras in the trucks. That camera saved my job. The camera in the truck saved my job. So as I go into as I swerve to miss this young lady, she keeps going. And I tell y'all, I don't know if anybody have ever been in an automobile accident, but a tractor trailer accident is completely different. My window was down. This is what I remember. Well, my window was down. And when I came to after the tractor and the trailer rolled over, all I remember was I'm like, dang, like I'm in my tractor like this. I had my seatbelt on, obviously. I'm just like dangling. So I take my seatbelt off and I get out and I crawl out. I look at my left arm. I'm talking about all of this red. All of this was red. So I was in shock. I wasn't even thinking about my left rotator cuff. I didn't even know that it had detached. So all of this was red, like red. So what had happened was my window was down, which I'm blessed. And Inky Johnson said this, and I'm going to keep saying it so it can get through to some of these truck drivers and you drivers every day. The most underrated blessing is leaving your house and making it back home. Inky Johnson said that, and I'm gonna keep saying that. The most underrated blessing is leaving your house and making it back home. That's the most underrated blessing. So I'm going through these emotions, and I never forget, there was this young boy, and I know God sent him. It had to have been God, because when I wrecked, and I'm gonna tell y'all one thing that pissed me off. I'm talking about it ran through me, even though my adrenaline was already up. After I crawled out of the truck, my arm is bleeding. I'm looking over to traffic, and I'm talking about the traffic that's coming from Broadway going on to Henley Street. People are and I don't know, I'm not gonna curse on this. I don't know what's wrong with people what's up with people with the cameras and boom, 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 taking pictures. None of them, zero. Nobody got out of their cars to check on me to see if I was okay. Nope. Everybody just like that, taking pictures. Hey, snap, snap, snap. And I'm sitting here like, wow. So this young man, and you may see this podcast, you may not, but man, I'm grateful for you. I thank you. He came out, he grabbed my backpack, and I'll never forget. I'm laying in the truck. I'm sitting in the truck like this, and the guy was like, "Turn the engine off." And so me watching all these movies, I'm thinking the tractor's about to blow up, right? Because all I can think about, but it's diesel, which diesel with gasoline, I know it's two different things, but all I could think about was, man, it's just tractor flipping over, fluids are leaking, and this thing about to blow up. So I jump, I get out of the tractor and it's still running. He's like, well, shut that off. So I'm like, yes. I'm reaching in like scared to shut it off, and I shut it off and I jump back. And I'm thinking there was gonna be a big explosion. But it wasn't, but it was just what was on my mind. So the young man that helped me, God, he was God sent. He was a God sent because he got back in my tractor, he got my backpack, my phone, and all my other stuff. He had it on his tailgate. I'll never forget. So he's talking to me. He's checking on me. I get on the phone when my adrenaline, calms down. I call my boss, Tim Lovett. I'm not going to talk about you, Tim, because I love you. You're my brother. I call Tim Lovett. I say, Tim, I just been in an accident. And he didn't really he understood, but he didn't know. I said, he's like, an accident. I said, Tim, I just rolled this truck over. He said, what? So he's like, okay, we'll be there in a minute. So, the ambulance come, and me being the man that I am, I'm sitting here arguing. I'm arguing with the ambulance. They was like, you got to get in the ambulance to go to the hospital. And I was like, man, I'm good. I was like, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm trying to be a tough guy. That was my mentality. So here I am, just rolled over a truck, and me and the people, the ambulance people, and I'm sitting there, and my boss and Doug shows up. They're like, hey, you got to get in the ambulance to go to the hospital. That's part of protocol, is what you need to do, which I knew that, but I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. So, but I'm thankful for that guy. Grateful for him because he helped me in that situation. He helped me get my stuff together. He helped me. He helped comfort me in that moment. And that's what I needed. So he comforted me because I was in a whole nother state of mind, because I'm just like, dang, I was still in shock. So I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful for him. So my boss and them, I'm in the hospital, laying in the bed, and they gave me a 900 milligram ibuprofen. And as I'm sitting in the bed, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and already somebody posted on Facebook, this Cisco driver, he turned the truck over. I'm gonna give credit to my son's mom. she was on there arguing with people, and she was like, and I'm grateful. I appreciate her taking up for me. But people were saying, oh, he's this, he's that. He might have been driving too fast. He might have been doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, people don't even know what happened. They just seen a Cisco truck turned over. They wasn't there for the accident. They wasn't me, or they wasn't that young girl. So stop making assumptions. Just like when I see an accident or something, I'm looking at it. I wasn't there, but I can assume this is what happened. So they made all these assumptions. And Malachi's mother, she took up for me, and I appreciated that. She defended me, even though I could have got on there and said some comments, but I chose not to because I knew it wasn't the right time. And not that it wouldn't have looked good, but she did take up for me. So I really appreciate her for doing that. And that pissed me off because I'm at the same time, I didn't say this. It's February the 25th, 2016. My brother Malcolm and his wife Cassie, they was upstairs in the same hospital. I was at Fort Sanders. They was upstairs. She was giving birth to Micaiah on this day. So that's why this day I told myself, me and Micaiah's gonna have a special relationship, because the day that I'm sitting in the ER, my sister-in-law is giving birth to Micaiah. That's wild. I know. It's wild. And I think Malcolm and them, I don't think they understood the magnitude of what my accident was. Because me, I didn't explain to everybody. I just said, I text everybody, I said, hey, I've been in a wreck. But then when they seen the pictures, they was like, oh wow, man, that that looks wild. I'm like, yeah, it was. And so I didn't want to freak everybody out, but I wanted them to know that I was okay. So the flip side to this was, so my boss and them, I'm sitting, I'm sitting in a hospital bed and we're conversating. No, I went in the hospital bed. So as we leave the hospital, Doug's driving, Tim's sitting in the passenger seat. And Doug asked me, and like I said, this is just part of protocol. So I'm not saying nothing bad. I'm not talking about him. But he said, Matthew, he said, was you eating something? And me at the time, like I said, I just got into an accident. So I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like, I don't think I was. He said, well, we reviewed the footage. We reviewed the footage and you was eating a sandwich. For the record, y'all, for the record, I was not eating a sandwich. I was eating some potato chips. The way that I was driving, the chips was, like I said, my hand was on the steering wheel. But I'm sitting here like this. The reason I did not lose my job was because my eyes never left the road. So as I'm eating, my eyes are still on the road. That's why I was able to maneuver and miss the young lady when I did. Now, if I would have looked down or looked elsewhere, I would have been gone. They would have fired me immediately. So I'm processing all of that as I'm in the hospital bed. Keep in mind, I just started this job in May. I think it was May of 25, or not 25, May of 2015. I think it's when I started that job. And here I am, February. I've had my first tractor trailer accident in my whole life because I've been driving since 2006. So as Doug is, as he is interrogating me, as I say, I explained to him, I said, I said, I don't remember. And so, but like I said, again, they both reiterated, you did have your eyes on the road. You didn't you was paying attention. But again, I was not eating a sandwich. So let me just clear all that up before all the rumors. I was not eating a sandwich because at that time, I never packed sandwiches when I worked for Cisco. I was always eating at the stores or eating at wherever I was going. So I never packed a sandwich. So I had some potato chips. So let's fast forward. The rehabilitation process. That was the most tough. That was the most tough life experience that I've ever experienced because keep in mind, at the end of the day, I'm still a father. So you take away my left arm, and I have one arm. And I left this out too. I didn't realize my rotator cuff. I didn't even feel it. It just felt like a sore. I didn't even know it was detached. I had to go to therapy. They had me doing therapy for a little bit, and I was working light duty in the warehouse, like sweeping, painting, doing stuff like that. But one thing I don't understand is I think some of these companies, instead of going straight doing the MRI, they want to do the rehab. They do the rehabilitation period. They want to see if you can strengthen it. But I knew then when I was in therapy, doing all these different exercises, and if I got weight in my hand, I could get it up to like here, but I couldn't even lift it. So with my other arm, of course, I can lift it. So I had to go do an MRI, which I don't like MRIs. I feel like I'm in a tunnel that I can't get out of. So they determined that my rotator cuff come detached. So fast forward, I had my surgery. I've never had surgery in my life until I had this rotator cuff surgery. So as a father, it was hard because my son was playing football at the time and he was into basketball. And normally, when I would get my son, we would play football. We practice football in the yard. We'd practice basketball. I was always interacting with him and his friends and just running around at the time, because I enjoyed spending my time with him. This accident took that away from me. When I say the accident changed my life, I was out of work from 8 to 9 months. And I can't explain to people because unless you've been in that situation, I really can't break that down for you. But as a man, I'm an independent man. I take care of myself. I've always lived alone. I have people that depend on me. So I was stripped, of that. And like I said, accidents happen, things happen. But the young lady called back that Friday. And this is what pissed me off. At the time, it pissed me off. She called back and she said, did he die? Is he dead? And then the person answered the phone. They said no. They said he's okay. Then she hung the phone up. And so the information that was given to me, I said, well, are y'all going to go after her? What are y'all going to do? And I was told that unless you died, we're not going to do anything about it. And like I said, it's no offense to the company. It's just what I was told. And that really pissed me off because I'm like, I know the tractor was totaled. The trailer, I think they still use it to this day, but the tractor was done for. And when I looked at the pictures of the tractor, I don't even know. I told myself God was the only reason I survived that. This happened for a reason. But I was protected because if all I walked away with was a torn rotator cuff, I'm grateful and I'm blessed because, like I said, until that day, I've never had an accident like that. So I struggled as a man, as a father, as I was going through the rehabilitation process because I was dependent on others, my friends, George, Harold, Sean, my good friends. They was there for me. They helped me. They helped me get through the things that I couldn't do. And my family, the things I couldn't do, they've done for me. And like I said, I'm not used to that. So I had to be vulnerable. I had to humble myself and just be acceptant, just accept my fate as okay, you're gonna have to ask for help. You need to ask people, if you need some help, get you some help. So as I rehabilitated the whole time, I'm thinking to myself, am I going to be able to still do this job? Because like I said, I just had rotator cuff surgery. So that whole time I was second guessing it. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So unfortunately, I'm grateful to this day that I'm still able to work. And people say, oh, when you have rotator cuff, when you have rotator cuff surgery, you got a new arm. You don't. You lose mobility. I can have all these muscles, but I explain to people, even when I'm working above my head, my arms get tired. I don't care how much I bench press. You still lose your mobility. My arm will never be 100%. I'm not complaining. I'm just blessed and I'm grateful that I'm able to do this. I'm able to do things. I'm able to work on my house, work on my mama's house, do all the things that a father, an uncle, a brother, and a friend should do. And I'm grateful for that. So, and I tell people I didn't let this accident keep me from getting behind the wheel. Now, don't get me wrong. I still have the anxiety when I come to that green stoplight. That's one thing that won't ever leave me. Is whenever, and I'm not ashamed to say this, every time I come up to a green light, I'm like this. Every time the light's red when it turns green, I'm like this. I ain't moving. I'm like, and then I go. It's a caution thing. It's being a defensive driver because I'm thinking to myself, I told myself, I don't ever want to experience what I experienced again. So being safe is important. Being aware is important. And for the record, I was living in my first house when this accident happened. So living alone, taking care of my house, doing my laundry, I had to learn how to just use my right hand and not use my left hand. So, like taking a shower, that was a challenge. Getting in and out of the car, it was a challenge. And just remember, because after I had my surgery, your arm is in a sling. The first couple of weeks, you got to sit up in a couch. Like I had a recliner. I had to sleep sitting up because you couldn't lay down in a bed. Then eventually I got to the point to where I could lay in my bed, but I had pillows that propped me up to where I was sleeping like this. But the therapy process, it hurt. I'm not even gonna complain. I'm not even gonna lie. I would have to take my with my hydros. I had a friend take me and I would take them before I go because the rehabilitation, it hurts. I'm not even gonna lie, it hurts. But I'm glad that I made it through that process. But yeah, so for the record, y'all be safe out there. When you drive and pay attention. Because like I said, I would not wish this accident on anybody. And you got to be mindful. Be mindful of what's around you. Pay attention to the people that's around you because some people just don't pay attention. And you got to always be a defensive driver. So my advice to other drivers, slow down when conditions change. Don't let anyone rush you. Take your breaks. Trust your training. Learn from others' experiences. Protect your physical and mental health. So, my closing thoughts: life can change in seconds. Be grateful for every safe trip home. If you experience a trucking accident, know that you're not alone. Healing takes time, and asking for help is a sign of strength. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all. If you've been through a trucking accident, I love to hear what you learned from it. Until then, stay safe. Keep the sunny side up. Hope everybody have a wonderful day.
It's the drip from